Tonight, there is nowhere you need to be. There is nothing you have to prove to the world before you are allowed to rest. The forest outside your thoughts is quiet, not because nothing lives there, but because everything living there understands the art of moving without needing to announce itself. The trees do not apologize for standing still. The moss does not hurry to become a flower. The rain does not explain why it falls. Somewhere between the dark branches and the soft earth beneath them, there is a place where your tired mind can finally stop pretending that it knows the way. Maybe you have felt lost for a long time. Maybe you have been walking through days that looked normal from the outside, but felt unfamiliar from within. As if your own life had become a path in a forest you once knew and no longer recognize. Maybe you have smiled, answered messages, gone through routines, carried groceries, studied, worked, cleaned, waited, scrolled, and still, under all of that, there was a quiet question following you like a shadow. Where am I going? And why does everything feel so far away? If that question has been living inside you, let it sit beside you tonight. You do not have to solve it. You do not have to turn it into a plan. You do not have to punish yourself for not having an answer. The forest has no map, and still it grows. A river does not see the ocean when it begins, and still it moves. A seed does not understand the shape of the tree it will become, and still something inside it keeps reaching upward through the dark. Perhaps being lost is not always the opposite of progress. Perhaps sometimes being lost is the moment before a deeper kind of listening begins. So let this be a small shelter for your thoughts. Imagine that you are walking slowly beneath tall trees at the edge of evening. The sky is neither day nor night, but something soft between the two, a faded blue sinking into grey. The air smells of wet leaves, old bark, and rain that has not yet fully arrived. Every step is quiet. The ground is damp enough to remember the last storm, and the path ahead is barely visible. Not hidden, not dangerous, just uncertain. You do not know exactly where it leads, but tonight that is not a failure. Tonight, not knowing is allowed. You walk without needing to arrive. You breathe without needing to become better with every breath. You exist without turning your existence into a task. Around you, the forest holds its silence with such patience that you begin to wonder whether you have been too harsh with yourself. Maybe you expected your life to make sense sooner. Maybe you thought you would be a different person by now, calmer, stronger, clearer, less afraid. Maybe you believed that growing up would feel like becoming certain, when in reality, it often feels like standing in the middle of too many roads, holding pieces of yourself you do not yet know how to name. But the trees know something about time. They know that nothing honest becomes whole quickly. They know that roots grow first in darkness. They know that seasons change a living thing not by demanding transformation, but by returning again and again, with rain, with cold, with sun, with wind, until what was hidden becomes strong enough to rise. You too are allowed to have hidden roots. You too are allowed to be in a season that does not look impressive to anyone else. You are allowed to be tired. You are allowed to be unsure. You are allowed to be quiet. Somewhere in the distance, rain begins, not suddenly but gently, the way a memory returns. A few drops touch the leaves above you, then more. The sound spreads through the branches like 1,000 small whispers. It does not ask you to be happy. It does not ask you to be healed. It simply arrives and keeps you company. There is comfort in rain because it does not pretend. It falls because the sky can no longer hold it. Maybe people are not so different. Maybe sadness is not weakness, but weather. Maybe there are things inside us that gather quietly for days, months, years, until one evening we can no longer carry them with perfect posture. And maybe that is not a disaster. Maybe it is how the heart makes room. If you feel heavy tonight, imagine that the rain understands. Imagine that every drop landing on the leaves is taking one small part of the weight from your chest. Not all of it, not forever. Just enough for this moment. Just enough to remind your body that it does not have to hold everything at once. You keep walking, and the path turns darker, but not colder. The forest seems endless now, yet not empty. There are lives all around you. Small creatures moving under roots, birds sleeping beneath their wings, insects hidden in the grass, mushrooms rising quietly from the earth. So much is happening without noise, so much is alive without being seen. And maybe that, too, is something you needed to remember. Your life does not have to look remarkable every day to be real. Healing does not always look like dramatic change. Sometimes healing is washing your face when you do not feel like it. Sometimes it is answering one message. Sometimes it is making tea. Sometimes it is letting yourself cry without turning it into a character flaw. Sometimes it is choosing not to return to a place, a person, or a thought that keeps breaking you. Sometimes it is doing nothing, because doing nothing is the only way your nervous system can remember that it is safe. In a world that worships movement, stillness can feel like guilt, but the forest does not share that belief. The forest rests every winter and does not call itself lazy. The moon disappears and does not call itself a failure. The flowers close at night and do not ask forgiveness for needing darkness. Why should you be the only living thing expected to bloom without pause? You stop near an old tree. Its trunk is wide, textured with years, marked by storms, insects, weather, and time. It is not smooth. It is not perfect. It is beautiful because it has remained. You place your hand against the bark and feel how solid it is, not because nothing ever hurt it, but because it learned to grow around what happened. There are scars in trees called knots, places where branches once broke or were cut away. The tree does not erase them. It carries them as part of its shape. And still it gives shade. Still it holds birds. Still it reaches toward light. Maybe you have knots inside you too. Places where something ended before you were ready. Places where trust cracked. Places where words stayed unsaid. Places where you had to become strong because no one came in time. You may have spent years trying to become smooth again, untouched again, easy again. But perhaps peace is not becoming the person you were before. Perhaps peace is learning that you can be marked and still be alive, changed and still be worthy, wounded and still be gentle. The rain grows steadier. It runs down the bark in thin silver lines. It darkens the path, softens the air, blurs the edges of everything. You sit beneath the tree, protected but not completely dry, and for the first time in a while, you stop trying to control the shape of your thoughts. They come and go like mist. Some are painful, some are ordinary, some are memories you did not invite. A face, a room, a season, a version of yourself you miss, or maybe one you are relieved to have left behind. You notice them without chasing them. You let them pass between the trees. This is not forgetting. This is not pretending nothing mattered. This is simply refusing to hold every memory like a stone in your hands. There is a difference between honoring what happened and living inside it forever. The forest knows this. Every autumn, it lets go of leaves that were once essential. It does not hate them. It does not deny their beauty. It simply understands that holding on, past the season of holding on, becomes a kind of suffering. Maybe there is something in your life that has become an old leaf, something you once needed, something that once gave you color, shelter, meaning or identity, but now only drains the branch. A dream, a fear, a person, an old version of yourself, a hope that turned into waiting, a story you keep telling because you are afraid of who you would be without it. You do not have to drop it all tonight. Letting go is rarely a single heroic act. More often, it is a quiet loosening, a small unclenching, a breath. A day when you do not check, a night when you do not explain yourself. A morning when the memory comes and you let it leave without following. That is enough. Small freedom is still freedom. The rain continues, patient and endless, and you notice something strange. The forest does not become less beautiful when it is dark. It becomes deeper. The outlines soften, the colors retreat, the sounds grow clearer. You hear water gathering on leaves and falling in sudden drops. You hear the distant movement of branches. You hear your own breathing, slower now, less sharp. Perhaps darkness is not always a punishment. Perhaps sometimes it is an invitation to stop relying only on what you can see. So much of life asks for trust before evidence. You cannot see roots while they are growing. You cannot see morning while it is still midnight. You cannot see the person you are becoming while you are still surviving the change. And yet, hidden things are not unreal. The unseen is often where life begins. For a long time, you may have believed that feeling lost meant you had failed to become who you were supposed to be. But what if feeling lost simply means the old directions no longer fit? What if confusion is the first honest sign that something inside you has outgrown a path you were walking only because it was familiar? A path can be familiar and still not be yours. A place can be safe and still too small. A person can be loved and still not be good for you. A dream can be beautiful and still belong to a past version of your heart. It is painful to admit these things, because once you admit them, you can no longer pretend that staying is the same as peace. But the forest does not judge the moment a bird leaves its nest. It does not say the bird is ungrateful for wanting sky. It does not accuse the river of betrayal when it moves beyond the place where it began. Maybe movement is not rejection. Maybe leaving is sometimes the most honest form of respect. For yourself, for the truth, for the life that keeps calling even when you are afraid to answer. You lean back against the tree and close your eyes. Behind your eyelids, the darkness is warm. The rain becomes a rhythm, The forest becomes a room without walls. You think of all the times you tried to become acceptable by becoming smaller, quieter in the wrong ways, easier to understand, less complicated, less sensitive, less intense, less full of questions. You think of how exhausting it is to edit your soul for people who never intended to read it carefully. And here, beneath the branches, you begin to wonder what would happen if you stopped translating yourself into shapes that hurt. What if you are not too much? What if you have simply spent too long in places that could only hold a fraction of you? The ocean is too much for a cup. The sky is too much for a window. The forest is too much for a photograph. That does not make them wrong. It makes the container too small. Maybe the same is true for you. Maybe your longing, your sadness, your dreams, your anger, your tenderness, your need for meaning, your refusal to live numb, all of it is not evidence that you are difficult. Maybe it is evidence that you are alive, in a world that often teaches people to survive by becoming less alive. The rain softens, the night deepens. You open your eyes and see that the path ahead is still there, though barely visible. It does not demand that you walk it yet. It simply exists. There is a strange kindness in that. The future does not disappear just because you are too tired to enter it tonight. It can wait. Morning can wait. Answers can wait. You are allowed to rest before you understand. You are allowed to heal before you explain. You are allowed to be a person before you become a plan. For now, let the forest hold what you cannot hold. Let the rain speak in a language older than worry. Let the darkness cover you, not like an ending, but like a blanket. You have been trying so hard. Even when you thought you were doing nothing, some part of you was still fighting to stay here, to keep hoping, to keep breathing through days that felt heavier than they looked. That effort counts. The quiet effort counts. The invisible effort counts. The nights you survived without witnesses count. The mornings you began again without applause count. You do not have to become extraordinary to deserve gentleness. You do not have to turn your pain into wisdom immediately. You do not have to be grateful for what hurt you. You only have to be here, in this breath, in this small clearing of time, letting yourself be a little less alone. And if tomorrow you still feel lost, remember this: even lost things belong somewhere. Even a path that disappears under leaves may still lead home. Even the moon, hidden behind clouds, is not gone. And even you, uncertain, tired, unfinished, are not outside the story of your own life. You are still in it. You are still becoming. You are still allowed to find your way slowly. There is something almost sacred about the moments when the world expects nothing from you. No deadlines, no conversations waiting to be answered, no expectations hanging over your shoulders like heavy winter coats. Just the quiet rhythm of the forest, the distant sound of rain touching leaves, and the slow realization that perhaps your heart has been asking for this silence for much longer than you knew. You begin walking again, not because you have found the right direction, but because your feet remember something your mind has forgotten. There are paths in life that cannot be understood through thinking alone. They reveal themselves only to those willing to keep moving gently, without demanding certainty from every step. The forest has always known this. Every animal here trusts instinct more than prediction. Every branch bends with the wind without asking where the storm intends to go. There is wisdom in flexibility, A quiet strength in allowing yourself to change direction without believing that you have failed. Somewhere above, hidden behind layers of clouds, the moon continues its journey across the sky. You cannot see it, but it has not disappeared. It has simply become invisible for a while. Your own hope may feel the same. Hidden does not mean gone. Sometimes the brightest parts of ourselves continue existing long before we can feel them again. They wait beneath exhaustion, beneath disappointment, beneath grief. They wait patiently, like spring beneath frozen ground, asking only for enough time to return in their own season. Perhaps you have spent years believing that healing should feel dramatic, but one morning you would wake up completely different, completely fearless, completely free from every wound that ever shaped you. But forests do not transform overnight. They change one leaf at a time, one sunrise after another, one quiet season flowing gently into the next. Growth rarely announces itself while it is happening. Only much later do we look back and realize that the person who once cried over something now smiles without thinking about it. The place that once felt impossible to leave has become a distant memory. The pain that once filled every room now fits quietly into a corner of the heart without controlling the whole house. Healing often feels invisible because it happens while you are simply living. The rain grows lighter until only a fine mist remains floating between the trees. Tiny drops settle on your hair, your shoulders, your hands, cooling your skin with a softness that feels almost like forgiveness. The air smells cleaner now. The earth has accepted the rain without complaint. It has taken every drop and transformed it into something useful. Maybe your own heart has been trying to do the same all along. Maybe every disappointment, every goodbye, every unanswered question has been slowly becoming fertile ground beneath your feet, even if you could not yet see what would eventually grow there. You kneel beside a stream that quietly crosses the path. The water is clear enough to reflect pieces of the sky between the branches above. It never stops moving. It never tries to keep yesterday's reflection. It allows every image to pass through it without becoming trapped by any of them. There is something beautiful about that. We often hold on to moments long after they have ended, replaying conversations, imagining different endings, asking impossible questions that can never be answered. What if I had stayed? What if I had left sooner? What if I had said those words? What if someone had loved me differently? The stream knows none of these questions. It simply continues flowing toward a destination it cannot yet see. Perhaps wisdom is not having fewer questions. Perhaps wisdom is learning which questions deserve your energy and which ones belong to the current, carried gently away until only peace remains. As you continue walking, the forest begins changing almost without notice. The trees become older, their trunks wider. Their branches reach across the path like gentle guardians, watching travelers who pass beneath them. Moss covers ancient stones, softening their edges, until they seem less like obstacles and more like places meant for resting. You sit on one of them for a while. The silence here feels different now. Earlier it felt unfamiliar. Now it feels welcoming. Strange how quickly the heart begins trusting places that ask nothing from it. Maybe people are the same. Maybe the safest souls are those who never demand that you become someone else in order to deserve their kindness. Think about the people who made you feel lighter simply by existing beside you. They may not have solved your problems. They may not even have known exactly what to say. But they listened. They stayed. They gave your thoughts enough space to unfold without rushing toward conclusions. Those people are forests too. They offer shade without asking payment. They remind us that peace often arrives through presence rather than advice. If you have someone like that in your life, even one person, hold gratitude for them quietly tonight. And if you do not, remember that one day you may become that person for someone else. Sometimes our deepest loneliness becomes the reason we learn how to comfort another human being with extraordinary gentleness. The wind begins moving through the branches again, carrying the scent of pine farther into the distance. Leaves answer with 1,000 tiny movements, none louder than the others. There is no competition here. No tree tries to become taller by forcing another one into the shadows. They simply grow where they were planted, reaching upward with whatever strength they have. Human beings forget this too often. We compare lives that were never meant to follow the same path. We measure our beginning against someone else's middle. We call ourselves late because someone else arrived somewhere first. But forests are filled with trees of different ages standing beside one another without envy. A young sapling does not apologize for being small. An ancient oak does not mock the sapling for growing slowly. They belong to the same forest, despite becoming themselves at completely different speeds. Imagine treating yourself with the same kindness. Imagine allowing your life to unfold at its own pace instead of according to invisible deadlines borrowed from strangers. There is no universal calendar for becoming who you are meant to be. Some people discover their purpose at 18, others at 50. Some fall in love once, others many times. Some travel the world. Others build quiet homes and never leave them. None of these stories is more complete than another. The value of a life cannot be measured by how quickly it reached someone else's definition of success. The path beneath your feet begins climbing gently uphill. It is not difficult, only steady enough to remind your legs that progress sometimes requires patience rather than speed. You notice your breathing becoming deeper, not strained, just alive. Every step grounds you more fully in the present moment. The future feels strangely distant now, no longer demanding constant attention. Perhaps this is what peace has always been. Not the absence of uncertainty, but the ability to exist fully inside one honest breath, without borrowing tomorrow's worries. There is a clearing ahead. Moonlight finally escapes the clouds for just a moment, spilling silver across the grass. Everything glows softly. Every blade of grass carries a tiny drop of rain, reflecting the sky like a collection of miniature stars scattered across the earth. Beauty has always existed in ordinary things. We simply become too distracted to notice it. Maybe happiness is not hidden somewhere far away. Maybe it keeps visiting quietly every day, while we remain busy searching for something louder. A warm cup of tea, fresh air after rain, a familiar song, a letter, a dog sleeping peacefully, the smell of books, the first cool morning after summer, the silence before sunrise, a laugh arriving unexpectedly. Tiny moments that never ask to become extraordinary, only noticed. The forest understands this language perfectly. Nothing here is trying to become famous. Nothing here needs applause. And yet everything is beautiful, simply because it exists honestly. Perhaps you are allowed to exist that way too, without constant performance, without proving your worth every hour, without measuring your value through productivity alone. You are not a machine built only for output. You are a living soul, and living things require seasons of blooming, seasons of resting, seasons of rebuilding, and seasons that seem almost invisible until one day flowers appear where silence once lived. The night continues unfolding around you with infinite patience. You realize there is no destination waiting at the end of this walk. The walk itself has become enough. Perhaps life has always been more like this than we wanted to believe. Not a race toward one perfect moment, but thousands of quiet evenings, unexpected conversations, forgotten sunsets, ordinary mornings, slow recoveries, and gentle beginnings stitched together until they become a life worth remembering. Somewhere behind you, the rain finally stops completely. The forest exhales. So do you. And for the first time in a very long while, you no longer feel like someone searching desperately for the way home. You simply feel like someone walking through the darkness with enough trust to believe that dawn, whether seen or unseen, has already begun its journey toward you. Perhaps the most beautiful thing about the forest is that it never asks who you were before you arrived. It does not know your mistakes. It does not remember your embarrassing moments, your unfinished conversations, your regrets, or the promises you could not keep. It welcomes every traveler in exactly the same way, with open paths, quiet air, and enough silence for the heart to hear itself again. Imagine if you could offer yourself the same kindness. Imagine meeting the person you are today without immediately introducing every version of yourself that you wish had been different. Imagine allowing this moment to exist without carrying every yesterday into it. The past deserves remembrance, but it does not deserve ownership over every tomorrow. There are memories that taught you something important, and there are memories that simply became habits of returning to pain. Learning the difference may take years, but every quiet evening like this moves you a little closer. The trees around you become thinner as the path climbs toward higher ground. Through their branches, you begin to see pieces of the sky opening above you. The clouds are slowly drifting apart, revealing stars that have been waiting there all along. They never disappeared. They simply could not be seen while the storm was passing. There is comfort in realizing that some truths remain untouched by temporary darkness. Your worth has never depended on whether you felt confident. Your kindness has never disappeared because someone failed to appreciate it. Your ability to love has never vanished simply because your heart became tired. Some parts of you are older than disappointment itself. They survive quietly beneath everything life places upon them. You continue walking until you find a fallen tree resting beside the path. Years ago, it must have stood proudly among the others, reaching toward the same sky, drinking the same rain, sheltering birds beneath its branches. Now it lies peacefully on the forest floor, slowly becoming part of the earth again. Moss has covered much of its bark. Tiny mushrooms have appeared along its side. New plants are growing from what once looked like an ending. Nature wastes almost nothing. Even what falls eventually becomes shelter, nourishment, or the beginning of another life. Perhaps human lives are not so different. The dreams that ended may have prepared you for the ones that still wait ahead. The friendships that faded may have taught you what true companionship feels like. The heartbreak that once convinced you that love had abandoned you may one day become the reason you recognize genuine love when it finally arrives. Endings often disguise themselves as empty places, but the forest quietly insists that empty places are where new roots find room to grow. You rest your hand against the old trunk and close your eyes once more. The wood is cool beneath your fingertips. You imagine all the seasons it has witnessed. Winters of endless snow. Summers filled with birdsong. Autumn leaves drifting silently through golden light. Springs where every branch awakened again after months of waiting. It survived each one without knowing exactly when the next season would arrive. It trusted the rhythm of the earth because that rhythm had never abandoned it before. Human hearts often struggle with waiting because we mistake silence for absence. We assume that if nothing seems to be happening, then nothing is happening at all. But beneath the soil, roots continue growing where no eyes can follow them. Beneath winter, seeds quietly prepare for warmth they have never seen. Beneath your own uncertainty, invisible changes are already taking place. Maybe the person you hope to become is not someone you must build from nothing. Maybe they have been quietly growing beneath your fears this entire time. Every difficult conversation you survived. Every morning you got out of bed when you wanted to stay hidden. Every lesson learned through disappointment. Every act of kindness you offered, even while carrying your own sadness. These are not meaningless moments. They are the rings inside your own tree. Invisible from the outside, yet forming the strength that allows you to stand through future storms. A gentle breeze moves through the clearing, carrying with it the scent of damp pine and distant flowers hidden somewhere beyond the next hill. You smile without realizing it. It is a small smile, almost invisible, but real. Sometimes happiness returns exactly this way. Not as an explosion of joy, but as a quiet softening around the edges of pain. There is no grand announcement. One day you simply notice that something which once hurt every hour now visits only occasionally. You laugh at something without forcing yourself. Music sounds beautiful again. Food tastes warmer. Sleep arrives a little easier. You stop checking for someone's message. You stop imagining conversations that will never happen. Tiny freedoms arrive one after another, until one evening you suddenly realize that your heart has become lighter without asking permission. The forest continues offering lesson after lesson without ever speaking a single word. Every branch bends differently, because every tree has met a different wind. Some trunks carry lightning scars, others lean toward open sunlight after years spent beneath larger trees. None of them apologize for the shape life has given them. Their beauty comes from honesty rather than perfection. Somewhere along the way, people began believing that flaws reduce beauty, but nature has never agreed. Rivers are beautiful because they curve. Mountains are beautiful because they break the horizon unevenly. Clouds are beautiful because they never keep the same shape for long. Why should human beings be expected to become perfectly symmetrical when everything truly alive remains wonderfully imperfect? You begin noticing your own breathing once again, slow, calm, natural. It no longer feels like something you are controlling. It simply happens. Perhaps peace works the same way. We spend years chasing it as though it lives somewhere beyond the next achievement, the next city, the next relationship, the next version of ourselves. Yet tonight, sitting quietly among trees that know nothing about success or failure, peace feels surprisingly ordinary. It exists inside a single deep breath, inside cool air touching your face, inside the simple realization that for this moment, nothing terrible is happening. Your heart is beating. The earth continues turning. Somewhere far away, dawn is already beginning for someone else. And eventually, it will find you too. There is something deeply comforting about realizing that the universe does not rush. Stars spend millions of years becoming what they are. Mountains rise through movements too slow for any single lifetime to notice. Oceans carve cliffs with patience rather than force. Perhaps your own life deserves that same patience. You do not need to solve your future before sunrise. You do not need every answer before taking the next step. Sometimes the bravest thing a person can do is continue walking, without demanding certainty from the darkness ahead. You stand once more and follow the narrow trail toward the sound of distant water. The forest begins opening around you until the trees become scattered enough for moonlight to cover the ground completely. Ahead lies a quiet lake, untouched by wind. Its surface reflects the stars so perfectly that it becomes difficult to tell where the sky ends and the water begins. You kneel beside the shore and watch small circles spread across the surface whenever a single leaf falls into the water. Such a tiny movement creates ripples reaching farther than the leaf itself could ever travel. Maybe kindness works that way too. A single encouraging sentence, a smile given to someone having an impossible day, a message asking, "How are you really?" A quiet act of forgiveness. We rarely witness how far those ripples continue moving after they leave us. Perhaps someone is still alive because another person chose gentleness instead of indifference. Perhaps your own life has already changed people in ways you will never fully understand. The world often celebrates loud victories while overlooking quiet compassion. Yet the forest reminds you that the smallest streams eventually become rivers capable of shaping entire landscapes. You watch your own reflection in the water for a long moment. It looks softer somehow. Not because your face has changed, but because you are seeing it without searching immediately for flaws. You wonder when you first learned to examine yourself with such relentless criticism. Children rarely look into mirrors, searching for reasons they are unworthy. Somewhere along the road to adulthood, many of us begin measuring ourselves against impossible standards until even our victories feel incomplete. Tonight, beneath the stars, those standards seem strangely unimportant. The lake reflects you without judgment. The moon does not ask whether you have achieved enough. The forest does not compare your journey with anyone else's. It simply allows you to exist. Maybe that is the greatest gift nature offers. Permission. Permission to breathe without earning it. Permission to rest without guilt. Permission to move slowly. Permission to begin again as many times as necessary. Every sunrise is another beginning. Every rainfall is another beginning. Every season quietly reminds the earth that nothing living remains exactly the same forever. You rise from the lakeshore and continue following the path as it curves gently through silver grass. Somewhere in the distance, an owl calls once into the night before everything becomes quiet again. The sound fades almost immediately, leaving behind an even deeper silence than before. Strange how silence can feel fuller after a single note. Perhaps hearts work that way too. Sometimes one honest conversation changes the way we experience every quiet moment afterward. The air grows cooler now. Dawn is still far away, but something about the darkness has changed. It no longer feels endless. It feels patient. It feels temporary. And perhaps that is enough for tonight. You do not need proof that tomorrow will be beautiful. You only need the willingness to believe that darkness has never lasted forever. Not in the forest, not in the sky, and not inside the human heart. Somewhere beyond these trees, morning is already making its slow and faithful journey toward you. The path becomes softer beneath your feet, covered now by a blanket of pine needles that quiet every step. The forest has changed again, without asking your permission, just as life so often does. Nothing announced this transition. No sign appeared, no voice explained what was happening. One moment you were surrounded by familiar trees, and the next everything felt new. Perhaps this is how most important changes arrive, not through dramatic moments, but through countless ordinary ones, stitched together so gently that we notice only after looking back. The night has grown older. Somewhere beyond the hills, morning is preparing itself with remarkable patience. It is not rushing toward the horizon. Dawn never hurries. It knows that light becomes meaningful because darkness had enough time to exist. Maybe your own life follows the same quiet rhythm. Maybe there are mornings already moving toward you that you cannot yet imagine. You continue walking until the trees begin opening into a wide meadow surrounded by ancient pines. Thin layers of mist drift slowly above the grass like pale rivers floating through the air. Everything feels suspended between dream and reality. The world is so quiet that you can hear the smallest sounds, the gentle movement of distant branches, tiny drops of water falling from leaves after the rain, the slow whisper of wind traveling through places no human hand has ever touched. You stop in the middle of the meadow and simply breathe. For the first time in what feels like forever, you are not trying to become someone else. Not wiser, not stronger, not more successful, not more productive. Just here, just breathing, just alive. Perhaps this has always been enough. We spend so much of our lives preparing to live that we forget life has already begun. We wait until we are thinner, richer, calmer, more confident, more accomplished, more loved, more understood. We postpone happiness until we become someone we believe deserves it. Yet the forest has never waited to become beautiful. It blooms exactly as it is. Even broken branches catch the morning light. Even fallen leaves become part of the landscape. Nothing here earns the right to exist. Everything simply belongs. The mist moves gently around your legs before disappearing into the trees. Watching it dissolve reminds you of thoughts. They feel permanent while they are inside your mind, but given enough space, they often drift away on their own. Not every thought deserves belief. Not every fear deserves obedience. The mind tells stories because that is what minds do. Some stories protect us. Others imprison us. Wisdom is learning which voice belongs to fear and which belongs to truth. Fear always sounds urgent. Truth rarely does. Fear says you are running out of time. Truth quietly reminds you that trees spend decades becoming themselves. Fear tells you that everyone else has figured life out. Truth smiles gently, knowing that nearly everyone is pretending more than they admit. Fear demands certainty before movement. Truth whispers that movement itself creates certainty. You continue walking through the meadow until you reach a small wooden bridge crossing another narrow stream. The water beneath it reflects the first faint traces of colour appearing in the eastern sky. They are almost impossible to notice unless you are paying close attention. A little blue becoming softer, a little grey becoming lighter. Morning always begins quietly. Healing does too. Most people imagine healing as a destination. They imagine crossing some invisible finish line where sadness disappears forever. But perhaps healing is much simpler than that. Perhaps healing is noticing that you smiled today without forcing it, that you slept a little better, that one memory hurts slightly less than it did last month, that you looked at yourself with kindness for one whole minute before criticism returned. Small victories still count. Quiet victories still change lives. The bridge creaks softly beneath your feet, reminding you that even things built to carry others sometimes make noise under pressure. You smile at the thought. Perhaps people are allowed to creak too. We spend so much energy pretending to carry everything effortlessly. We apologize for needing rest. We apologize for asking for help. We apologize for becoming overwhelmed. Yet bridges were never designed to feel nothing. They simply continue doing their work despite the weight they carry. As you reach the other side, you notice a single deer standing between the trees. It watches you for a long moment, neither frightened nor curious, simply aware. Then, with incredible gentleness, it disappears deeper into the forest without making a sound. Not every beautiful thing is meant to stay. Some moments exist only to remind us that beauty is real. A sunset, a snowfall, a stranger's kindness, a song heard at exactly the right time, a conversation that changes everything. A quiet walk through a forest in the middle of the night. The value of these moments has never depended on their duration. Some of the most meaningful experiences in life last only seconds. Still, they remain with us for years. You begin wondering how many beautiful moments you overlooked because you were too busy searching for larger ones. How many ordinary evenings became invisible because you were waiting for extraordinary days. Happiness often enters quietly through doors that ambition forgets to open. The trees become denser once more, but they no longer feel mysterious. They feel familiar now, almost like old friends walking beside you. Earlier tonight, every shadow seemed uncertain. Now those same shadows feel protective. Nothing around you has changed very much. You have. Sometimes the world becomes softer because the heart becomes softer first. There are people who spend their entire lives searching for a place where they finally feel at home. They move between cities, relationships, careers, dreams, believing that peace must exist somewhere else. Yet perhaps home has never been a location. Perhaps home is the place inside yourself where you stop arguing with your own existence. The forest has quietly been leading you there all night. Not toward a cabin, not toward a hidden destination, toward yourself. Toward the version of you that existed before fear convinced you that your value depended on constant achievement. Toward the child who once looked at clouds without wondering whether the day had been productive enough. Toward the heart that still remembers how to wonder. The eastern sky grows brighter, very slowly, almost imperceptibly. Birds begin singing one by one instead of all at once. One voice answers another across the forest. Then another joins. Soon the silence itself changes shape, becoming something alive with gentle sound. No conductor tells them when to begin. No clock announces the exact moment morning becomes morning. Life simply knows. Perhaps your own new beginning will arrive the same way, without fireworks, without certainty, without perfect confidence. One small decision, one honest conversation, one quiet morning when you choose yourself instead of fear. One ordinary day that later becomes the day everything slowly started changing. You step onto the highest point of the trail just as the first golden light reaches the tops of the trees. Every drop of rain left on the branches begins shining like tiny pieces of glass. The entire forest seems to awaken without making a single loud sound. You close your eyes one last time. The cool air fills your lungs. The smell of pine surrounds you. The earth beneath your feet feels steady. The wind brushes gently across your face. For a few beautiful seconds, nothing is missing. Nothing needs fixing. Nothing needs explaining. There is only this breath, this morning, this quiet promise that life continues unfolding even when you cannot yet see its full shape. When you finally open your eyes, the forest looks completely different than it did when you first entered. Not because it changed, because you learned how to see it. And perhaps that has always been the secret. The world is rarely transformed in a single night. But sometimes, a single quiet night transforms the person who is looking at the world. Carry this feeling with you when you leave these trees. Not the certainty that everything will be easy, but the quieter, stronger certainty that whatever waits ahead, you no longer have to face it as someone who believes they are lost. Because now you know something the forest has been trying to teach you since the very beginning. You were never walking alone. The rain walked with you. The wind walked with you. The stars waited above you, even when clouds covered them. The trees stood beside you, without asking who you had been yesterday. And somewhere, deep beneath every fear you carried into this forest, your own heart had been waiting patiently for you to return. Welcome home. The sun rises so slowly that it almost feels as though the forest is afraid to wake the world too quickly. Golden light slips gently between the branches, touching the tops of the trees before slowly reaching the earth below. And every leaf seems to hold its own quiet piece of mourning. You stand without speaking, allowing the warmth to settle across your face, realizing that nothing extraordinary has happened during the night, and yet everything feels different. The problems you carried into the forest may still exist beyond its borders. The unanswered questions have not magically found their answers. The roads waiting outside these trees are no less uncertain than they were yesterday. But something inside you has become quieter. Sometimes that is the only miracle we truly need. Peace does not always arrive by changing our circumstances. Sometimes it arrives by changing the way our heart sits inside those circumstances. You begin walking once more, not because there is somewhere you urgently need to go, but because every journey eventually asks us to leave even the places that healed us. There is sadness in leaving beautiful places, but there is also gratitude, because now you know they exist. The forest was never meant to become a place where you hide forever. It was meant to remind you of something you had forgotten before you returned to the world. Every tree you passed tonight has been quietly teaching the same lesson in 100 different forms. Strength is gentle, growth is patient, rest is necessary, silence is not emptiness. Being lost is not the same as having no direction. Somewhere beyond the last row of pines, you can already see the outline of distant hills glowing beneath the morning sky. Birds fly above them without maps, guided by instincts older than memory itself. You wonder how many invisible instincts still live inside you, buried beneath years of fear, comparison, disappointment, and noise. Perhaps your heart remembers the way forward, even when your thoughts do not. Perhaps intuition has been whispering beneath anxiety all along, waiting for enough silence to finally be heard. As you leave the meadow behind, you notice spider webs stretched carefully between branches, each covered with tiny drops of rain reflecting the new sunlight like countless stars suspended in the air. They are so delicate that they could disappear with one careless movement, yet they survived the entire night. There is quiet resilience in fragile things. Human beings often mistake softness for weakness, forgetting that water shapes mountains while stone slowly crumbles beneath time. The gentlest people sometimes carry the greatest strength because they have learned how to remain kind without allowing the world to harden them completely. If you have protected your tenderness through difficult years, do not underestimate what you have accomplished. Kindness that survives suffering is one of the rarest forms of courage. The path begins descending now, leading you toward the edge of the forest, where sunlight grows brighter with every step. You remember the version of yourself who entered these woods during the night, carrying invisible weight, believing that every unanswered question demanded an immediate answer. That person is still part of you, but they no longer stand alone. They have walked through rain, through silence, through darkness, and discovered that none of those things lasted forever. Perhaps the greatest comfort is not believing that storms will never return. Storms always return, seasons always change. There will be evenings when sadness finds you again without warning. There will be mornings when anxiety arrives before sunrise. There will be days when the future feels impossibly distant. But now you know something you did not know before. You know that your heart is capable of surviving those nights. You know that dawn has never failed to arrive after darkness, even when clouds tried their hardest to hide it. You know that peace can exist quietly beneath uncertainty, just as rivers continue flowing beneath winter ice. There is no finish line waiting for you outside this forest. There is only another day, another opportunity to live with slightly more gentleness than yesterday. Perhaps that is enough. Perhaps life was never asking you to become fearless. Perhaps it was simply asking you to keep walking with an open heart, even when fear walks beside you. You notice wildflowers beginning to open in the morning light, each one turning naturally toward the sun, without questioning whether it deserves warmth. They do not compare themselves to the taller flowers growing nearby. They bloom because blooming is simply what they were created to do. Imagine living with that same quiet confidence. Imagine allowing yourself to become who you are without asking permission from every passing opinion. The forest has shown you that every living thing carries its own rhythm, its own season, its own unfolding. There is no shame in growing differently from others. There is no failure in taking longer. There is no weakness in resting before continuing. As you reach the final stretch of the path, you turn around one last time. The trees stand peacefully behind you, unchanged by your visit, yet forever connected to this morning inside your memory. Long after you leave, there will be evenings when life becomes loud again, when responsibilities pile upon your shoulders, when loneliness whispers familiar stories into your mind. On those days, remember this place. Remember the sound of rain falling gently through pine branches. Remember the cool air filling your lungs. Remember the lake reflecting stars that never disappeared, even while hidden by clouds. Remember that somewhere inside you there will always remain a quiet forest, untouched by the noise of the world. A place where your thoughts can slow down, where your breathing becomes steady again, where nothing is expected from you except your presence. You can return there whenever you need, even if only by closing your eyes for a single minute. Because peace was never hidden inside these trees alone. The forest was only showing you the landscape that has existed within your own soul all along. And perhaps that is why the forest has never truly been a place. It has always been a way of seeing. The trees simply gave shape to something your heart already understood, but had forgotten beneath the noise of ordinary days. As you continue walking beyond the edge of the woods, the world slowly begins to wake. Somewhere far away, windows open. Coffee begins to brew in quiet kitchens. Roads fill with people, carrying plans, responsibilities, conversations, and worries that will occupy the hours ahead. Birds cross the pale morning sky without knowing the names of the cities below them. The wind travels freely from mountain to river, from valley to sea, never asking where it belongs, because belonging has never depended on staying in one place. Perhaps you are more like the wind than you realize. Perhaps your home has never been a single address, a single relationship, or a single version of yourself. Perhaps your home is every place where your soul remembers how to breathe. There will be mornings when you forget this. There will be afternoons when anxiety returns quietly, convincing you that you have fallen behind again, that everyone else understands life more clearly, that your path is somehow less meaningful because it looks different from the paths surrounding it. When those thoughts arrive, do not argue with them. You do not need to defeat every fear that visits your mind. Watch it the way you watched the mist drift through the trees. Notice it. Allow it to exist without offering it a permanent home. Feelings, like weather, are guests. Some stay longer than others. Some arrive unexpectedly. None remain forever. The sky has never become the storm. It has only carried it for a while. Your heart deserves the same patience. You are not every anxious thought you have ever believed. You are not every mistake that still visits you before sleep. You are not defined by every door that closed, every goodbye that broke you, every season that asked more of you than you believed you could give. You are something quieter than all of those things. You are the one who continued walking. You are the one who kept choosing another sunrise, even when the night felt endless. You are the one who learned that strength often whispers instead of shouting. The morning grows brighter with every passing minute, until the shadows become shorter, and the forest behind you begins disappearing into light. It is strange how quickly darkness loses its power once dawn arrives. Last night, those same trees felt endless. Now they seem gentle, almost smiling beneath the sun. Problems often behave the same way. In the middle of the night, they appear enormous, impossible to carry, impossible to solve. Yet morning has a way of changing proportion without changing reality. Sometimes clarity comes not because life suddenly becomes easier, but because rest allows us to see the same road with different eyes. There is no shame in needing morning. There is no shame in needing another chance. Nature builds its entire existence around beginnings. Every sunrise begins again. Every spring begins again. Every wave begins again. Why should human beings believe they are allowed only one beginning? If your life has taken turns you never expected, perhaps you have not become lost at all. Perhaps you have simply entered a chapter that could never have been reached by staying where you started. Growth often disguises itself as confusion because becoming someone new always feels unfamiliar before it feels natural. The person you will become 5 years from now is already quietly growing inside choices so small that today they seem almost invisible. Every act of patience, every moment you choose kindness over bitterness, every time you rest instead of forcing yourself beyond exhaustion. Every morning you continue despite uncertainty. None of these moments seem extraordinary alone, yet together they become the architecture of an entirely different life. Somewhere ahead, beyond hills you cannot yet see, there are people who have not met you, but whose lives will one day become gentler because you existed. There are conversations waiting that will restore hope you thought had disappeared forever. There are places that will feel unexpectedly familiar the moment you arrive. There are sunsets you cannot yet imagine, songs that will become part of your memories, laughter that will arrive after seasons of silence, and peaceful evenings when you will look back at this version of yourself with tenderness instead of sadness. You will wish you could gently place a hand upon your own shoulder and whisper, "Keep going. You are much closer than you think." But since time moves only forward, let these words become that whisper instead. Slow down when your heart asks for rest. Trust quiet progress. Celebrate invisible victories. Let yourself become someone who no longer needs permission to exist gently in this world. There will always be people rushing toward horizons they never pause long enough to appreciate. You do not have to join every race simply because it exists. Sometimes the richest life is built by walking slowly enough to notice the light passing through leaves, the warmth of morning air, the comfort of silence shared with yourself. There is extraordinary beauty in an ordinary day when you are fully present inside it. Eventually, you stop walking and turn back one final time. The forest is now only a distant line of green resting beneath the morning sky. From here, it almost looks small. It is impossible to believe that such a quiet place held an entire night of questions, memories, fears, healing, and hope. Then you realize something beautiful. The forest did not stay behind. A part of it left with you. Not the trees, not the rain, not the winding paths, something deeper, a quieter rhythm, a gentler way of seeing. A reminder that even when life becomes loud again, there will always be a place within you where the wind still moves softly through ancient branches, where rain falls without urgency, where stars continue shining behind every cloud, and where your heart remembers that it never needed to become perfect in order to deserve peace. And if, one evening, many months or even many years from now, you find yourself feeling lost once again, close your eyes for just a moment. Listen carefully. Beneath the noise of the world, beneath the endless conversations of fear and expectation, beneath everything that tells you to hurry, you may hear something familiar. The quiet breathing of the forest, the distant sound of rain on leaves, the gentle footsteps of the person you once were, walking beside the person you have become. And together, Without speaking a single word, both of you will continue forward. Not because every answer has finally appeared, but because you have learned the most important truth of all. Peace is not a destination waiting somewhere beyond the horizon. Peace is the way you choose to walk, one slow breath, one quiet morning, one gentle step at a time. One day, perhaps long after this morning has faded into memory, you will find yourself standing beneath another sky, in another season of your life, wondering how you ever survived the years that once seemed impossible. You may be walking through a city instead of a forest, hearing distant traffic instead of birdsong, feeling warm sunlight on old buildings rather than on pine branches. Yet something inside you will recognize the same quiet feeling. It will arrive without warning, perhaps while watching rain gather on a window, perhaps while sitting alone with a cup of tea before the world wakes, perhaps while hearing the wind move through trees in a place you have never visited before. In that moment, you will understand that peace was never something the forest gave you. It simply reminded you where it had always been. The world often teaches us that happiness must be earned through endless effort, that rest belongs only to those who have accomplished enough, that our value increases only when our achievements do. But forests have never measured worth this way. A small flower growing between stones is no less beautiful than the tallest cedar reaching toward the sky. A quiet stream hidden beneath moss is no less important than the great river flowing toward the sea. Every living thing contributes simply by existing honestly. Imagine what would happen if you believed the same about yourself. Imagine beginning each morning without immediately asking whether you are enough. Imagine replacing that question with another, gentler one. How can I meet this day with kindness? Not perfection, not certainty, just kindness. Toward yourself first, because a heart that is constantly at war with itself cannot easily offer peace to anyone else. There will still be difficult days. Some mornings will begin with heavy thoughts before your feet even touch the floor. Some evenings will leave you wondering whether all your effort has made any difference at all. There will be conversations that stay with you longer than they should, unexpected disappointments, silent goodbyes, plans that quietly dissolve, dreams that change shape while you are still trying to understand them. This is not failure. This is simply what it means to belong to a living world where everything continues changing. Even mountains slowly become valleys given enough time. Even oceans rise and fall beneath the pull of a distant moon. Even stars are born, burn brightly, and eventually return their light to the universe. Why then should you expect yourself to remain unchanged? Change is not evidence that you have lost yourself. More often, it is evidence that life continues, inviting you towards someone you have not yet become. And there is no need to fear that person. They are not waiting to judge who you are today. They are quietly grateful that you kept walking. Every small act of courage you choose now becomes part of their strength later. Every gentle decision becomes another root beneath a tree you cannot yet see. Sometimes the future thanks us long before we understand what we have done. You may never fully know how many storms you quietly survived simply by refusing to stop. You may never realize how often your own resilience carried you farther than confidence ever could. Confidence comes and goes like weather. Resilience remains. It is built in ordinary moments, in the quiet choice to continue after disappointment, in forgiving yourself for yesterday, in allowing today to exist without demanding that it become extraordinary. The forest understands this, because nothing here rushes toward greatness. Greatness arrives naturally through countless unnoticed days. Rings appear inside trees, one season at a time. Rivers deepen one drop at a time. Sunrise brightens the earth one ray at a time. Perhaps your own life deserves to be lived with the same patience. As you continue your journey beyond these woods, may you remember that there is no deadline for becoming whole. There is no race toward peace. There is only this moment, followed gently by another, each carrying the quiet possibility of beginning again. And if someday you feel the familiar weight of loneliness settling across your shoulders, remember that loneliness is not always the absence of others. Sometimes it is simply the distance between who you believe you should be and who you already are. Close that distance with compassion rather than criticism. Speak to yourself as you would speak to someone you deeply love. Offer yourself the understanding you so freely give to others. Rest without guilt. Dream without apology. Hope without demanding guarantees. Let your heart remain open, even after it has known sorrow. Because hearts are not meant to become smaller in order to avoid pain. They are meant to become wiser, without losing their ability to wonder. The forest has taught you that darkness can hold peace, that silence can hold answers, that rain can wash away more than dust, and that every ending quietly carries the shape of another beginning. Carry these lessons gently. Do not force them into every day. Simply allow them to live inside you, like old friends who appear whenever they are needed most. Somewhere, perhaps at this very moment, rain is falling softly through another forest. Somewhere, another traveler is taking their first uncertain steps beneath ancient trees, believing they are alone. If your thoughts could reach them, perhaps you would tell them exactly what you now know. Keep walking gently. Breathe a little deeper. Trust the morning you cannot yet see, because every forest, no matter how dark, has always been growing toward the light. And so are you.